Let me tell you about a case that still haunts aviation authorities, the police, and the families who never got their answers. This isn't just another story. It's something that will pull you in and stay with you. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll feel like you were there too. It's the story of Flight 407, a domestic flight with 89 passengers headed for a nearby city. A routine trip, clear skies, and an experienced crew. Nothing should have gone wrong. But it did, and no one knows why. The flight departed from Bell Ridge International Airport at 10:03 a.m. Everything was smooth for the first hour. The captain, Edward Haynes, was a veteran with over 15 years of flight experience. Co-pilot Sarah Lee was just as sharp. The flight attendants reported calm passengers and no issues on board. At 11:14 a.m., Flight 407 vanished from radar. No distress call, no mayday, just sudden silence. Air traffic control tried to reach the crew. Nothing. The emergency protocols were activated, and nearby aircraft were asked to scan the skies. But no one saw anything. Within minutes, search and rescue teams were mobilized. Can you imagine that? A plane disappearing into thin air with no warning. Would you feel safe flying again? They found the crash site 3 hours later, deep within the restricted Ashmere Forest, an area avoided by locals due to old, unsettling legends. What the rescue teams found was disturbing. The plane was shattered into 3 large pieces. No fire, no smoke. The seats remained bolted in place, many with seatbelts still fastened. Luggage was intact, food trays undisturbed, but there were no bodies. 89 passengers and 5 crew members had vanished. Stop and think about that. If you walked into that wreckage, what would you feel? Fear? Confusion? Would you step closer, or would you run? Police immediately suspected that the bodies may have been thrown into the surrounding dense woods. Extensive ground searches, dogs, thermal imaging, nothing. No blood, no signs of animal attacks. No evidence anyone had ever left the aircraft. When the black box was recovered, investigators listened carefully. The final transmission was routine. Then, faint static. Then whispers, low and chilling, in a language no one could identify. One voice, however, stood out. "We're taking them. You can have the rest." Silence. The remaining 14 minutes of the recording were pure static. Analysts and linguists from around the world examined the whispers. None could translate them. Do you feel that? That strange pressure in your chest? I felt it too when I first heard this part. Stay with me. Publicly, the crash was blamed on an unexplained navigational error, leading to a tragic accident. But internally, the case stayed open, classified, unsolved. Lead Detective Mark Sullivan had been assigned to this case. He couldn't let it go. The whispers on the black box, the lack of bodies, the untouched crash site, it all consumed him. He returned to Ashmere Forest several times, determined to find something the teams missed. Locals warned him to stay away. Old stories spoke of the others who lived in the woods, beings that could take people without leaving a trace. You'd probably think the same thing Sullivan did. These are just stories, right? But sometimes stories hide the truth. Sullivan didn't believe in folklore until he started seeing things. On his 3rd solo visit, he found a child's backpack, clean and dry, sitting on a rock 20 miles from the crash site. Inside was a boarding pass for Flight 407, a family photo, and a small voice recorder. The recorder held a 5-second clip. A child's voice. "They're not people. Don't let them see you." The tape ended with a scream. How would you feel holding that backpack in your own hands? Sullivan became obsessed. He camped near the crash site night after night. He recorded strange sounds, low whispers, sometimes his own name, sometimes cries for help. His colleagues began to worry. They said he looked pale, sleep-deprived, increasingly paranoid, until one night, Sullivan vanished. His camp was found undisturbed. His notebook remained, filled with scribbled words. "They're still here. They're watching. The forest eats the noise. Don't answer the whispers." Police expanded the search but found nothing. No body, no footprints. If you had been his partner, would you have kept looking? Would you have gone back? 6 months later, a small aviation blogger received an anonymous package. Inside was a thumb drive labeled 407 Real. The video on it showed the cockpit of Flight 407, filmed by someone unknown. The footage matched the flight path, time-stamped minutes before the crash. Through the cockpit window, in the clouds, a dark figure appeared. Not a bird, not another plane. Something tall, thin, moving impossibly fast alongside the aircraft. The footage cut out just as the static began. Authorities dismissed the video as a hoax, but those close to the case knew it was real. The blogger who published it online disappeared days later. His apartment door was left open. His phone was found still recording. The last thing captured? A faint whisper calling his name. The file was removed from the internet within hours, but some say they downloaded it in time. Do you think you would have watched it? Would you risk hearing those whispers? Some claim you can still find the audio if you look deep enough on forgotten websites. And those who have listened to the full recording, they say that after hearing the whispers, they start to hear them in real life, sometimes on phone calls, sometimes in their dreams, sometimes when they walk alone at night. Police officially closed the case a year later, but families still wait. Some still return to the forest, searching for answers. And if you ever find yourself near Ashmere Forest on a quiet evening, some say you can still hear the faint sound of a plane flying overhead that isn't there. So tell me, what would you have done? Would you have kept searching? Would you have answered the whispers? Sometimes, stories aren't just stories. Sometimes, they're warnings.